Hello everyone, myself Vaibhav, your host for today's session of Daily Stock. In Daily Stock, we are going to look at one interesting semiconductor company. This is not widely known but a very important player, particularly in the industrial semiconductor space, where it has a strong presence and it derives major chunk of its revenues, more than 50% of its revenue comes from the semiconductors it provides to the industrial houses. So this is a company with strong presence in B2B segments. And if we look at the changes in the digital world with more electric devices and appliances, along with the electrification driven by the need of the climate change. This company has benefited from this wave of electrification, and particularly in the automobile sector we have this churn going on, where now the general population is also starting to shift its preference from the combustion engine to the electric engine, and this is one company which is going to benefit from this shift. It is a company which is also going to benefit from the AI wave. So many things which are happening in the larger world are positive for the analog devices, and we will see how its recent market focus is helping it derive a strong momentum, and we will also consider its prior earnings to look at what is the possibility of EPS for this quarter, and we will also look at the forward guidance. Of course, all these quarterly earnings and forward guidance are going to be released only tomorrow, but we do have to make an informed guess, and for that, we have to consider multiple factors which are driving the value proposition for the company, and what are the factors impacting the company. So if we are able to figure out, then I think we can make a good forecast of what to expect, and what kind of price reaction we are likely to see in the share price as well, because ultimately it's the move in the share price which we are interested in, and we are trying to figure out what kind of price moves are likely to unfold once we get the quarterly earnings for the analog devices. If we take a overview of the company, you can read all this information on its investors relation page, where company has listed its major strength points, the innovation, growth, and resilience. I will not really be going into the detailed final points of this, but as I said, the industrial segments contributes heavily in its earnings, with this 50% 51% contribution to total revenues, and rest comes from automotive communication, with consumer segment contributing only 13%. Now, if we have to consider its quarterly report, we will look at its quarterly earnings of the second quarter of 2023, as well as the quarterly earnings of third quarter of 2022, to see what has been recent trend of the company's earnings and what to expect moving forward. If we consider the third quarter results of 2022, The revenue stood at 3.110 million, billion, and this time as well we are expecting the revenues to be in tune of 3,100 million. So this is the expectation for this quarter in total revenue, with percentage change to be of 0.5. No major change is expected, so the company is likely to hold on to its revenues what it was making in the third quarter of 2022. Similar amount of money the company is likely to bring in this year as well, with not much of a change in the EPS. The EPS is likely to be 2.5, with very little adjustment. Now, if we look at the segmental results, let us see how the segments were faring back then. The company enjoyed strong profit margins. So here we have these breakup of the revenues, with industrial revenues standing at 50%, and this mix is not really likely to change much, but we can expect stronger growth of revenues in the automotive segment, with slight correction in the industrial space, as companies consumers in the electric automotive segment are now churning out much more cars. So the revenues from automotive segments are likely to increase for the third quarter of 2023. But as we have seen some slowdown in the industrial space, these lower revenues in the industrial space are likely to compensate the increase in the automotive space. Communications, the 5G adoption is going on, so there is tailwind, positive tailwind on that front as well, and we will have to see how this segment contributes to total revenues. All right. Now we look at the forward guidance provided in the second quarter of 2023 to see what the company anticipated for this quarter. So for this quarter, the company was forecasting revenues of 3.1 billion, and this is the number we are still sticking to, with not much of a change from the third quarter of 2022. And EPS is likely to stand at 2.5%. The major deviation from this number is of course likely to impact the share price, but not only the earnings but forward guidance also plays a key role in the share price moves post the earnings, and we will have to look at the what kind of guidance the company provides for the fourth quarter of 2023. So that is also going to be a important factor when the company's earnings are released. Now let us go to the technical side of the story and see what is the outlook looking at the company's share price. This is the ADI's share price move for last couple of weeks, where it has been losing ground after topping the share price just slightly above 200, and from there on the company has continuously declined with these lower highs and lower lows formation, bringing the ADI share price quite close to the immediate swing low at 173.57. So this formation is negative at the moment, and for it to change, the immediate price move to watch out for on the higher side is going to be this high, the immediate swing high of 185.69. Unless that is breached, I think the short term outlook remains negative, and we will do well to keep our focus on short selling opportunities. Even if we look at the fundamental side, given the company's expectations of just holding on to its prior revenues, but no substantial revenue growth is expected. So we will have to look at the larger picture as well, and see where the company's share price stood around the same time last year. And if we look at the share price of the company for the same period of last year, there is not much of a change. So the company is not really that high in comparison to the valuation of the company for the third quarter of 2022. So even if there is a slight miss in the earnings, the downside is likely to be limited, and given the fact that it has been consolidating with bullish bias, is likely to stand it in good state from the medium term perspective. So I am fairly confident that if the ADI share price holds this mark and consolidates around 170 post the earning release, we will have good chance of seeing it resume its upward move in couple of days. So even if the immediate outlook is remaining, we will have to give it time to consolidate first, and after due consolidation, we can indeed think about taking chances for the resumption of the bullish rally. So that is my take looking at the current pricing trajectory from the daily charting, where we have this formation of higher highs. So if you are a intraday trader, or if you are having the view for couple of days, then it is favorable to trade with the bearish outlook. But if you are someone looking to invest from the medium term to longer term perspective, then it is better to watch out the price moves and wait for some consolidation on these levels around 170, and after due consolidation you can indeed take your chances and post earning release depending on the forward guidance and the earnings report. If there is a earnings beat with outlook turning positive for the company and share price reacting accordingly, we will have a positive momentum in the share price as well. And whenever we will get a decent risk reward ratio, a favorable risk reward ratio, we can go for a new trade as well. So watch out for the company's earnings to also see the impact it is generating on the price moves of the ADI, and taking together both these factors with the technical formation at hand, which is bearish from the short term perspective, but still bullish from the medium term to longer term perspective, depending on the outlook and the immediate pricing trajectory, you can think about taking a appropriate trading decision once you have the earnings report in hand by tomorrow. So that's my outlook looking at the company's fundamentals as well as technicals, where the play is getting interesting and we have the most important release, that is the quarterly earnings report coming up tomorrow. So that's all from my side for today's session. If you have any query or any idea to share, do write me the feedback and I will be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Thank you all for joining in. I will be back tomorrow with a equally interesting share and its trajectory to discuss with you. See you next time around. Thank you all for joining in. Goodbye.